welcome to another episode of Equip and Elevate. I'm so excited about my guest today. We're going to be speaking about feeling stuck in your career and wanting to find ways on how you can accelerate your career. Today I have the force of a woman, Vumile. She's going to be giving you guys tips on how you can accelerate your career, especially when you're feeling stuck. Just by way of introduction, she's the founder of Hesed Consulting, a Pan-African coaching firm with presence in Botswana, South Africa, Rwanda, Nigeria, and the United States of America. I mean, okay, can we start there? Like, having to have so much presence in these different spaces, I mean, that's amazing. And welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me, and I'm actually quite excited.
I think just by starting off, really, obviously I've been following you on Instagram, and I appreciate so much of your tips, and this is why I wanted to introduce you to my audience, because I think a lot of young people in many instances are either feeling stuck in their careers, and they don't really know that they're feeling stuck in their careers. Some of them are maybe aware of that, and I mean there are a lot of systemic things that are in place that also position you to be in a position where you feel stuck. But I think just before we get into that conversation, I want to get to know you a little bit more, and so that the audience can get to know you more. Maybe I just want to start off by saying, can you tell me a little bit about some of the key values that have shaped you of the person that you are today and the person that you're becoming?
Okay, awesome. So I'm Vumile Msweli, originally from KZN. Excuse me. From the eastern part of South Africa. I come from a very small township, one main road, Echistaville. So that's pretty much where I grew up. My childhood, I was raised by my grandparents and my mum. And I think some key influences there was definitely my grandfather. My drive for education came from him not being able to have the opportunity. He only had a fourth grade education, but he was the smartest man I knew.
Sure.
So there's a great burden on me to educate and to acquire education. Learning and teaching is something I love to do. I think that's why I became a career coach. So that's definitely one of my values. The second is excellence. I've been very fortunate to work all over the world. And sometimes when you walk into a room and you're African, there's that, okay, let's see. So for me, making sure that every time I engage is from a place of excellence, that African excellence is something I try to embody in everything that I do. If I can't do it well, then I'd rather not do it at all. So I think those are two key values for me.
Sure. I think, and obviously it's a testament of your brand. It's a testament of the business you've built to have presence in so many different countries, as well as the fact that you've been doing so well during the pandemic. Like, your business has been thriving. And how has that been for you in terms of, what you're doing and how the adjustment has been with the pandemic, working remotely? Because I know you're leading teams remotely. And how has that been for you?
So I've been very fortunate. I think in my role prior to, going full-time into my business, I ran strategy for Vodafone. So that was across the continent. I ran Africa. So a lot of the time I had to, in essence, run teams remotely. I'd say 70 to 80% of the time before I could actually get into that country. So that helped a lot. But I won't lie, some countries have done better than others. So I think my business in West Africa has been a bit of a challenge. It's a very social environment. It's, okay, we sign deals at weddings, wearing ashwebi, and that's where deals happen. And without being able to be there, you find that it does impact your business. But in other spaces, it's done much better. I've got a lot more clients from the United Kingdom and Europe, which I never had before. So I think it's all about repositioning and reframing, because, things will happen. The unexpected is the one thing that's guaranteed to happen. So our ability to, be agile is key to success.
And I think it's so key especially when we're going to be speaking about careers right now. I think people are now looking at other notions of, I don't have to go the traditional route. What are the other ways I can reinvent myself and make myself relevant to the changing space? I mean, we saw last year a lot of people being retrenched. People are still being retrenched. And when you're having to adjust to ways of where they're having to reinvent yourself and saying, how can I put myself in a position where I'm not just a lawyer, I'm also someone that can transfer my skills to other jobs and roles, because it's so uncertain, in what's happening with the market. But I think I want to hear your journey. I know you had mentioned earlier on when we were speaking that you're in banking. So please, can you share sort of your career journey, how you started, and just your overall journey in what you've done and then into eventually what you're doing right now.
Okay, perfect. So my background is in accounting sciences. Yeah, hey?
Yeah.
That'll show you.
And guys, she's reading for a doctorate, by the way, and she's a master from the University of London. So this, when I say she's a force, I mean she's a force.
So my background is in accounting sciences. I did my honors in financial planning. Like you said, from an academic perspective, my master's, my MBA from University of London, my postgrad from New York University, another postgrad from Gimpa in Ghana, busy doing my doctorate now in Switzerland. So that's my academic journey. My career journey is, I thought I was going to become a chartered accountant. And I quickly realized it wasn't for me. So I actually started, I was busy doing temp jobs when I first moved to Joburg, when my mom was like, Laila, I'm not paying any more rent for you. If you can't handle Joburg, come back to KZN.
Yeah.
So trust me, I was like working at SAP, I was a tailor on the weekends, I was a waitress just to pay rent. But my first, substantial job was at Investec Private Bank, where I worked at the call center. Probably the best place to work. Starting at the call center allows you to deal with problems, clients, operations, targets. So from there, from the call center, one of my clients really, really recommended me for Barclays in the UK. So I went from call center agent literally to running business support for Barclays in Southern Africa. So that's a lesson, guys. Never, ever despise small beginnings.
Sure.
You have no idea who you're speaking to who could change your life. So worked in the UK for a bit. London was great, but it wasn't for me. So I quickly moved to Isle of Man, which a lot of people don't even know exists. If you've ever watched, I think, Top Gear, Jeremy, where he's from, that's Isle of Man. It's like the smallest little island off the coast of the United Kingdom. So came back to South Africa, read for my master's, came back home, then joined First National Bank, where I was head of client services. So once again, operations, fixing problems. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so much fun because I could build things, and I love building things, and I enjoyed being in a very, innovative environment. And then Vodafone came calling, saying, for me, please, can you run strategy for us? And because I also was aware what my career plan was, my career strategy, I knew I had to move into the telecommunications space, and I knew I had to get a lot more exposure into the rest of the continent. So I moved to Vodafone, was with them for about 2 to 3 years, but I was also very aware that at 30, I do my own thing.
Yeah.
So all this time while this is happening, I had my own business. So I was really like gathering, okay, what's going to happen? So by the time I turned 30, I went into being at Hesed full time, and that's what I've been doing ever since. And I know you're going to be a lot of people like, okay, so let me get this. You were an accountant,
yes,
worked in banking, did operations, worked in telco, and now you're a career coach.
Yes.
Why? So I was fortunate. So by the age of 24, I was sitting at Extended Exco. And I would look around, and I would be the youngest person there, the only woman, the only African.
And the first off, maybe.
Yeah. And I had lots of imposter syndrome. So I asked to see a coach. And my challenge was I was engaging with a coach who did not understand my frame of reference. She didn't know what it was like to be African, what it's like to be South African, walking into a boardroom. What's going on in my mind. She could be, I can understand. She could empathize, but she really couldn't connect. And I thought, why aren't there more black female coaches who know what it's like to be in the boardroom? And to, in essence, solve that problem for myself, I built Hesed Consulting.
Sure. I think what you're just saying, the imposter syndrome is such a real one for a lot of black professionals. Thinking that you don't deserve to have a seat at the table. How did you overcome that, especially when you were sitting at those level of high position at such a young age?
It's something we face on a daily basis, but I always ask myself why. For something to be a universal truth, it must apply to everybody. So I'd ask myself, have I never seen a black woman successful? And I was like, I have. Maybe not in the South African context that I know personally, but I have seen them. And that's why exposure is so big for me. I think being in Nigeria, studying in Ghana shifted a lot of things. Because all of a sudden I was surrounded by people who looked like me, who were excelling. So when I walk into those rooms and I'm like, do they know I'm just from HSW? Do they know that, maybe I'm not the smartest? The question I ask is, why not? Why not me? And I also then look to the guys who've gone before me. I think about my grandfather, and I think if he had that opportunity, how much more he could have done. With the fourth grade, he built businesses.
Yeah.
Imagine with a master's what he could have done.
Yeah.
So I owe it to those who went before me to show up as the best version of myself. And then I also ask the counter, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm going to forget words in English, okay. And then that just shows how intelligent I am. The fact that I'm speaking two languages shows you how brilliant I actually am. So every time that imposter syndrome creeps up, I think about those who wish they had the opportunity and don't. I think about if I decide to run away out of fear, the only thing I'm really fearing is failure. And the only person I'm really failing is me.
Sure. That's
And I
so
deserve
good.
more.
That's so good. And I think I've never even thought about just looking at people that have gone before you, who've made it work with what they have, you know, and having to build with what they have. Because so often for me per se, I'll look at my white counterparty or on the other side and saying, they have all these different things that obviously it's working for them, and what do I have sometimes? You know, imposter syndrome is such a thing that robs you in more than anything. It robs you in really fully immersing yourself with your role or your job, because you're always second doubting, second guessing.
And it's irrational. It is completely irrational. It's a conversation happening in your head that nobody else is having but you.
Exactly.
And you make it stop. No, you must say, no. Actually, let me question it. And I think that's the first point, is to start in addressing it, is to question if not me, then who?
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. And I think maybe just moving to the topic around when you're feeling stuck, to, you know, how you can accelerate your career. Has there been a time in your career where you felt that you were stuck and you were like, there's no way out? And what would you say are the common reasons why people are feeling stuck in their careers?
Oh, yes. It's definitely about an 8-month period in my career where I felt very, very stuck. You know, when you're applying for roles, you're not getting any feedback. You're not getting anybody say to you, come for an interview. I felt stuck because I had forsaken my career strategy. It seemed too far-fetched, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let me just get what I can. And I felt stuck because I wasn't speaking to anybody about it. That feeling of being stuck, it's like driving a car. The engine stops, and you just sit there. You're not phoning AA, you're not phoning a friend to tow you, you're doing nothing. And it's a very paralyzing feeling to get stuck. And the reason why it's even more paralyzing is a lot of us get stuck and it takes away our voices. So when we're stuck, we're asking ourselves, please not ourselves, not other people, see, what do we do now? I always knew I wouldn't make it. And that's not what we do with external situations, but we do it internally, which is very dangerous.
And I think also, would you then, you know, these are the systemic conversations that everyone is having right now. Obviously race, and there's so many things. Would you say that with all the systemic things I already put in place also contribute to people feeling stuck in their roles?
I definitely do, and I also disagree a little bit.
Okay.
So my context is a little bit different, because I look at what's happening in Rwanda, I'm looking at what's happening in Nigeria, I'm looking at what's happening in South Africa. So we are all in Africa, right? So we generally have the same race challenges. South Africa is very unique because obviously we're the youngest country to get our independence from our colonial masters. Yes, there are things that are systemic, but there are people who are still thriving within that system. What are they doing? And they look like you. Okay? So yes, it's there, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. Then if you're looking at a place like Nigeria, where there's so many people that even getting your foot in the door is a challenge, and the system there is class, who do you know? Were you able to go overseas? But then you're also finding people who are local, who went to local universities, able to make it. So for me, I try very hard, specifically with my coaching clients, to say, okay, the obstacle is there. You thought you were running a 100-meter sprint. Now they've put hurdles. Are we going to jump, or are we going to say, but they're hurdles? We have to jump. We don't have a choice. And I know it's possible, because I remember even when I worked at the call center, having conversations with our then CEO, which my counterparts weren't having, because they were like, I'm at the call center, what can I speak to the CEO about? But I was able to position myself, and those are the opportunities that in essence created more opportunities for me to go overseas, to be headhunted. We were both in the same call center. You start out with if there are 2 interns, both of you start out. One of you becomes head of department in 4 years. One of you is still in the same role in 10 years' time. What's the difference? You're in the same system. The difference is the person. It's the individual.
Sure. And I think just touching on that. So now we have someone feeling stuck and then having to say, I want to accelerate my career. And then someone sitting there like, I don't know what that means. Can we define what it means to accelerate your career, and what are some of those ways, and how, when you look at your career, especially when you're feeling stuck, and how you could do that?
Okay, so let's unpack what acceleration is.
Yeah.
Acceleration is saying, oh, this is a good example. I like this one.
Okay, I'm excited.
So you know how on Google Maps, when you say, I want to go to Sandton City, it shows you the motorcycle route, the walking route, the car route, the train route. You're getting to the same place, but how quickly you can get there is depending on your mode of transport. So acceleration is saying, what mode of transport can you take to get you to where you're wanting to go in the fastest time possible? Okay? And the challenges, why a lot of us feel stuck, is we don't know where we want to go. So a lot of us, in essence, oh, okay, there's an opportunity. I've finished my degree. Oh, the bank is taking me. Okay, let me jump on it. You never once thought, outside of the C-suite and making money, what career experience you want. Then you get stuck and frustrated, and all you're saying is, I don't want to be here. But you haven't said where it is that you're wanting to be. So the first point is saying, where do you want to be? You can't go, imagine going to a restaurant and saying, I don't want chicken. I don't want to be here. So what do you want?
Yes.
Where do you want to be?
Yes.
As opposed to saying, listen, I'm going to want Indicio's pizza with extra onions, chili. Now that's someone who knows exactly where they're wanting to be. So they can acquire on their route all those skills and those experiences that can get them where they're wanting to be. So in acceleration, we're saying, we know our destination. Now let's get you to that destination as quickly as possible.
And then would you say, I mean, obviously this is me learning a lot and I'm just taking in. Would you say then career strategy ties in with obviously you knowing, accelerating your career? Because a lot of people are like, for instance, you studied law, I studied law, I get a job at a law firm, I do my articles, and you sort of you go with the flow, but you don't really have sort of a career strategy. So would you say that also ties into you not feeling sort of you accelerating your career?
Definitely. Career strategy is a long-term plan to hit your objectives, right? So Vumile at 21 already knew that, listen, at some point I'm going to run my own business. So because my strategy was to build Hesed, I didn't know at 21 what that business was going to be, but I knew I was going to, at 22 I already started a business, right, in property. So I knew I'd be an entrepreneur. So my strategy going into corporate was very different. The institutions I chose, the sector I chose, the exposure I chose was based on what it was that I was trying to build in 10 years' time. Please note I'm still at the call center. But now my approach to call center is, okay, I need to understand customer engagement. I need to understand problem solving. Oh, let me spend time with the marketing guys so I can understand marketing and sales. These are skills I'll need as an entrepreneur. If my strategy was I want to be in the C-suite, then I go deep down and I master it.
Yes.
So my strategy is your strategy is fundamentally different. So you will find yourself unhappy in your career because you never had a plan for it.
Yeah, sure.